I'm very honored to be asked to say a few words. I've been honored and very lucky to meet the Decker, Schmitz, and this man here was we hear from next, was the connection that led us together. And now that we've met and we see how much we have in common, we're going to work together for a common cause. So I'm a scientist, a researcher at the University of Arizona. I have a research program in epilepsy, studying the genetics of epilepsy. I had a longer career before I started doing this in a different area, human origins, but always to do with genetics. And I had a daughter who was born in 1996, and Dr. Talwar took care of her because she started having seizures at the age of 5 months. And she had epilepsy, but it was an undiagnosed form of epilepsy. And I, being a scientist, was obviously very curious to know what was causing her epilepsy so we could do better to treat it. And she went on to have hundreds of seizures in her life, and unfortunately passed away when she was 15 because people with epilepsy are at a higher risk for sudden death. And that's what happened to Shay. And Shay somehow left a legacy that lives on today, and it lives on through me and through other people, because now I've started to do work in epilepsy and study the genetics of epilepsy. And what I've learned is that there are a lot of common themes among these different rare disorders, especially these neurological disorders that affect the brain. And so what you've heard is very true, that if we can help to understand one of these diseases and treat it, it really does spill over to many other forms of neurological or brain diseases in children and even in adults. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the common processes that lead to seizures are things that lead to, like, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and ALS and traumatic brain injury, things like that. But what I'm going to be doing with the foundation, the MeCP2 Foundation, Duplication Foundation, is to help them with their scientific endeavor. They're going to help me with my endeavor. I just started a foundation in Shay's honor to study epilepsy and what are the factors that lead to the first seizure. And the amazing way that we fit together is that we know that Everett's at risk for seizures when he's a little bit older. And our goal in my foundation is to discover the processes leading to that first seizure and what can we do to intervene before that first seizure occurs. So that's a good fit right there. But I did want to say one other thing about community. Since we are in an amazing community, I'm blown away by the people and the energy and the love that's filling this room right now. I had no idea this many folks would show up for this event. We had 15 years of not knowing what Shay had, and we felt very, very alone for those 15 years. And once we discovered the cause of her epilepsy, and we published a paper because we discovered in my lab what Shay's epilepsy is caused by. It's a single change in the DNA that leads to a single amino acid substitution in a gene that is highly expressed in the brain and regulates excitability in the brain. We published that, and within a year or two, I started getting contacted by other families who had found they had also a child with this disorder. And it didn't take too long before I realized that we could help these families by establishing a website and what is called a registry, so that people could sign in, fill out a questionnaire, tell us about their child, because this disease was new and it was not known. It wasn't being treated properly by clinicians because they didn't know anything about it. So over the course of the last 4 years, we now know 300 children around the world who have Shay's form of epilepsy. And because of Shay, they know each other, and they support each other, and they have a very supportive, warm group of families that ask each other questions and help each other through this journey that they're all on together. So in the spirit of that kind of community, I want to thank you all for coming tonight and supporting this wonderful effort, and it will help many, many people, and your contributions are very warmly received and very needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, and all of you in this room should not underestimate the fortunate fact that Mike Hammer is a faculty member at the University of Arizona. He's one of those real heroes in these orphan diseases and a geneticist working really hard at trying to understand how to make things better. But I want to just say a little bit about us and why we are really important in a disease like this. And probably the best way of doing it is reminding you all of how penicillin came about to be the savior of humanity almost at its time. And all of you know the history of a gentleman called Fleming who made a mistake in his lab, and the mold that came because he left an experiment going too long killed the bacteria in his dish that he actually was growing stuff in. But what probably people don't realize is that when Fleming found this out, actually there had been a lot of studies and a lot of work that had been done by natives in various parts of the world that showed that mold actually cured, like if you got a cut and so on. And Fleming didn't know what to do with this thing. And in fact, Fleming thought it was a great thing to clean petri dishes because it killed everything. And that was about it. And there was another gentleman that came much later on, and his name was Florey. And Florey was what we would now call an entrepreneur. And he was the one that was able to figure out how to make it in quantities that were not just 2 milliliters, how to convince some pharmaceutical companies to create it in that way, the toxicity of it. He had an army of people that went from figuring out that this penicillin thing was something that could be useful to getting it to the market and saving a pile of soldiers in the war. When you have a disease like this one, you heard the wonderful one-person sort of operation trying to get the whole thing done. And the problem is that unlike cancer or heart disease or many other diseases that are the ones that the government puts a ton of money into, for good reason, we are it. So it's not only your funds that are really important, but it's actually your thinking of how to connect the right people, how to make sure that that if somebody is doing something in one place and somebody is doing something in another place, that these people can connect with each other. It's interesting that even in a discipline like medicine and with a disease that has so few folks like this one, it is still really hard to connect all the dots. And we should all keep that in mind, that if any of you are interested in making a big difference, keep plugging at it, maybe through his foundation, or find ways to get involved, in addition of the money, getting involved with whatever your sphere is of influence. But more than any other disease, it's these kinds of diseases that are called the orphan diseases. It's where we're lucky that we have universities that actually deal with these sorts of things, because the pharmaceutical companies can't. It's too expensive. And the government won't, because there are way too many other things that they're worried about. So community in this way means way more than just friendship. It really means an army of folks that are committed to make a big difference. So thank you for doing that. I'm usually the color man, and I am the same thing right here. I'm between two heroes of mine, one of Mike that I've already mentioned, and Cinda Parsegan, who is just amazing.
Thank you. It's actually been a wonderful evening up here at this table, because this man over here, Tanish Tawar, took care of our kids. He was a real gem. His heart is huge. We have these wonderful neurologists over here that are just making a difference in this world and this community. 25 years ago, and I think many of you know our story, but 25 years ago this summer, 3 of our 4 children were diagnosed with another rare disease called Niemann-Pick type C, another neurodegenerative fatal disorder. We screamed, we yelled, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I cursed God. But you know, what I found is that God doesn't always answer your prayers the way you want him to. What he does is he brings people into your lives to help you along your journey. And that's what this community did for us. They opened their arms. They walked the path with us. They made us take every day, one day at a time. I'm sure that Aaron and Amelia and Randy, Laurel, and I don't know where you are, but I'm sure you've gotten asked the question, how do you get out of bed in the morning? How do you put one foot in front of the other? And I always answer, because of family, because of friends, and because of the Tucson community. You came forth with volunteer hours, you came forth with financial donations, and you came forth to be with us in our journey. And I'll tell you, it's made a difference. From all the donations that we started, and we started with a dinner very similar to this. Some friends of ours said, we're gonna raise some money to start the foundation. And I know some of the ladies that helped me are helping the Decker Schmitz. And that's how we started 25 years ago. Well, we now have 5 drug trials underway, making a difference because of this community. We talked a little bit about rare diseases, but I'm going to give you 2 examples of why you should worry about rare diseases, or let me not worry about them, but why research in rare diseases will help each and every one of us. There were 2 men down in, I want to say they were the late 60s, early 70s, is that right, Mike? 60s, okay. And they were researching another rare disease where children were having cholesterol levels in the thousands, and having heart attacks and dying at 5 and 6 years old. These 2 men, Brown and Goldstein, mapped out at that time what was thought to be the only way we metabolize our cholesterol. Their work led to statins. And I don't know, I'm sure, raise your hand if you're on a statin. I am, okay, it's probably, other than Viagra, probably the most, I haven't had a drink yet, probably the most prescribed drug in the United States. All because of a rare disease. We came along with our gene, which showed a whole other cholesterol metabolism pathway. Those 2 men have now mapped out our pathway. They're going to impact everyone that has a cholesterol metabolism issue. Another one, and this one blows me away. So our gene is responsible for our little disorder, okay? It's like a bus, and it goes in and out of cells, this gene, and it takes things in and out. Well, they found that if in a mouse that has MeCP2, that's not taking cholesterol and other fats and lipids in and out of the cell correctly, that these mice are immune to Ebola, okay? They will not, this little bus won't let the Ebola get into the cell. So now you can imagine how much work is being done on the MeCP2 gene to try to find an answer, a solution to Ebola. That's why we should all support rare disease research. It's not for just the 100 children here or the 1,000. It's for each and every one of us that will impact our lives. You know, it has been a journey. And I know that many of you attended the galas we used to have here in town, and I developed a really close friend with Amy Grant. And Amy gave me a prayer, and I'm going to share it with you tonight. And the prayer is, Lord, lead me today to those I need, and to the ones who need me, and let something I do have everlasting significance. You here tonight are making a difference. This Tucson community will make a difference in this disease with this family. So once again, that prayer is, lead us today to those we need, and to the ones who need us, and let something we do have everlasting significance. Thank you.
So I'm Amelia Decker. I know a lot of you, but not everybody, which is good. So many people here. Aaron's going to get our speech up because we're a little nervous. But we just can't thank you enough for being here to support our son, to support our family, and all of the other children with MeCP2 duplication syndrome out there, because we have to support ourselves. Like we've learned, there's not much else going on for rare diseases. We really need to do it for the grassroots, and we've already raised enough to fund the entire year from this gala, the entire year. We still have a little bit more to go because we need to fund our website, and there's so much we need to do for this syndrome to get these children supported. But we thought hopefully we could give you, we saw our video and it was personal, but a little bit more of a personal view of where we're at and how we got here, and it happened really quickly. We just found out 6 months ago that Everett had this diagnosis. We just started planning this gala 3 months ago, so we're learning a lot from it. But so Everett was born 7/47, April 3rd, 2016, after 22 hours of labor. He was 9 pounds, 4.5 ounces, huge baby. He was easy, he was cuddly. You just needed to know you had to be really careful when you were holding him. You couldn't hold him if you liked what you were wearing, because you would end up wearing breast milk, sorry. He was wonderful. About 12 months, like you saw in the video, we realized something wasn't right. We talked to our amazing pediatrician, my partner Scott Radomski. Told him our worries, something's not quite right. He's not really pulling up, he's not rolling. So we started doing some therapies. A couple months in, really still not getting any better. In fact, we're starting to notice a lot of things that are not okay. So we saw a developmental pediatrician. That was Dr. Sydney Rice, if anybody knows her. She's amazing. She's so intelligent, she's just a genius. She recommended that we do genetic testing for what's called global delay, so motor, speech, fine motor, everything, social. And she was confident that there would absolutely be something genetic that we would find. That was the first time we had to deal with a real frame shift in our life. Sydney thought maybe he might be independent one day, maybe he wouldn't live with us, maybe he would be able to live in a supported environment, but he's not going to grow up to be a doctor like me, or a teacher like his dad, or a father, and that was a huge change in what we dreamt about for 9 months while we were pregnant, or even since we were little, and thought about having kids, because Erin and I have also always wanted to be parents. So it took about a year to get genetic testing done because our insurance wouldn't cover it, and it cost $8,000. So it took about a year to get it done. And then in September 2018, we had our second frame shift, where we kind of wish we could just go back to where we were before, where now we have a kid who's not going to live independently, but he's also, we're going to outlive him, and his life's going to be really difficult with a lot of medical challenges. So like I said, we kind of wish we could step back and just have him be delayed and not have to bury him, right? Sorry, that's really depressing. But so part of coping with this new life view was reading as much as we could. We Googled every moment. Nap time, after, when he was in bed, we were Googling, just to get a better understanding of what turn our life just took. Completely changed everything, right? But that was the problem. You know, I'm a physician, I'm well-versed in medical literature and the medical world, and finding and interpreting the information was extremely difficult. Identifying locations near us that had the expertise to take care of Everett's really ultra-rare syndrome was next to impossible. It's your job as a parent to advocate for your kid, but what do you do if you don't have the information to advocate or the resources to do that? You just feel completely stranded, and that's where we were. The thing about rare diseases is that it falls to those directly affected to organize and support themselves. There are rarely any large centers independently setting up programs for your unique disease, and we have set up our foundation to do exactly that.
She's incredible.
I remember the very first moment when we started thinking that we could do something about this. And he's over here, we were talking to Dr. Suter, Everett's great doctor in Houston. And we were, Randy flew out to Houston with us. We did it as a family. It's one of those moments that you don't like to do alone when you're going and learning something for the first time. Because as Amelia said, we had like WebMD and Google leading us previous to that. I just remember seeing the passion that Dr. Zogby and Dr. Suter had for what they were doing and how much they believed that a difference could be made for this syndrome. And it was just waiting for the right group of people to jump on board. It was hitting that point of momentum where the right group and the right family could just push it over the edge and really do some good. And you get really excited, right? So then we flew back to Tucson and we were talking about it the whole time and we were thinking about it. And we knew what Dr. Zogby needed because she gave us an outline of what we needed next, and so we were just kind of formulating a plan. But truthfully, it was on that trip that the MeCP2 Duplication Foundation was born. And it's one of those things you talk about a lot, but it's not really real, by the way. It's easy to talk about doing something like this. And then we got back, and the first thing Randy did was cut a check. One of the bravest things I ever saw anyone do, Randy. So it wasn't a little check, and it's taking a risk, right, on a person he just met for something he didn't know a lot about. And the second thing that happened that made me think this was real, and I apologize, I didn't tell him I was going to call him out, but he's sitting in the back, and his name's Kevin Carney, and he walked up to me one day, and he said, hey, I've heard you talking about this, I want to contribute. And, I looked at him, I said, hey, you're the first person not related to me that donated to this. Those are big moments. Those are validating moments. And it took a little bit of that at first, and a lot more. So we believe there's three main tasks that we can do so that we can help other families and so that we can make a difference. And that first one that we're going to work really hard on is that piece that we didn't have. It's that piece of organization and support and information for families. And so probably one of our main efforts that we're going to be spending a lot of time over the next 2 years on especially is building a framework for a website, for a series of family information webinars and conferences and the whole bit. We're gonna reach out because families with the rare syndrome, and I know Cindy can validate this, and so can Dr. Hammer, is you got to be the advocate for yourself because you're never going to talk to anybody who knows what you're talking about, right? And so one thing we have to do is teach that to other families too. Probably families who don't have a wife as a doctor, right? Second thing is we really need to organize places where kids can go to be seen for this. If you go online right now, there's not a lot of places. And if you go into the family forums for MeCP2 duplication, the only place they know of is in Houston. And God, I love Houston. Dr. Suter's in Houston. I like getting there, but I'm going to tell you, not all these kids can. And some of them need to be within distance of a car ride to their doctor instead of a flight. So that's one task we have too, is finding places that can see kids and that they can feel confident that that doctor knows what they're talking about. And then finally, how we need to cure this thing, right? I mean, that's what this is about too, is building a treatment so that these kids can do more than just see a doctor and more than just have their parents advocate for them, but so that their parents can live in a world where they don't have to worry what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's what we're looking for. So I'm gonna admit, we go to bed at night and we think about when's that first one gonna happen? When's the next seizure? When's the first seizure happen? What are we gonna feel that day when it happens? Will that be more devastating than the first day when we learned about this? I don't know. But what we're doing right now, it's not just about Everett. It changes the life for him, but also for hundreds and thousands of kids worldwide. Where we can give them a good life, where their parents don't need to have their kids hooked up to tubes and live in wheelchairs or see even their kids pass away. There aren't big groups that will step in, and somebody's got to do it, right? So we're the group that will make things better. And that's why we're here, and this is what we're doing, and we just appreciate you joining us on this journey. So thank you.
Originally, we intended to have all the grandparents come up here, but I don't see any of the other grandparents, including my wife. But I had a great line for that because I want to tell you what our names are with our grandkids. We got Pop Pop, Big Ma, Granny, and Papa. And that is not a hip hop group. Okay? It's AKA Bill Schmidt, Liz Taylor, Laurel Decker, and Randy Decker. We are, and I want to assure you, we're getting to the end of the program here, so it is time for somebody to say thank you. We keep asking you for more money, but I'm up here to tell you thank you for what you've done up to this point. So I have to tell you, in 3 months, we've pulled off something here that's really remarkable. And we are totally humbled by this experience. It's unlike any other experience I've ever seen. It's a miracle. You have all shared your wealth, you've shared your labor, your love, and now you're sharing our journey to save Everett and the other kids and to bring support to their families. By funding Dr. Zogby's groundbreaking research, and that's what it is, you're also helping children and families suffering from other rare diseases. And another thing to think about is that you're honoring the families of the children who have passed away. There have been a lot of MeCP2 kids that have passed away. It would be hard to know from what you've seen tonight, but Aaron and Amelia are suffering. There's still a lot of tears, I can tell you that. But the thing is, those tears of sorrow and fear are giving way to tears of hope and gratitude, and especially based on what's happened here. And all that's really thanks to your compassion. The late Reverend Dr. John Daly, who was a friend of many of us in this room, said that compassion is the greatest human virtue. Compassion literally means sharing another's suffering. And his wife Mary and his son Matthew and his wife Bridget are here tonight. And we mark the first anniversary of his death tonight. And there's no doubt that John's with us as well. So I want to I want to give you my thanks. And if I don't say your name, believe me, you're part of this miracle as far as the fact that you're here tonight, or if you couldn't come. And if you're not here, I don't know why I'm talking to you. So,
You're not.
I want to thank the board of directors. I want to thank the 30 remarkable people that are on the committee. We asked 30 people, and every one of them said yes, we'll be on the committee. And they showed up at the meetings. And many of them are the sponsors that you see in the program. The event committee was led by Cece Derrickson, and we want to thank Cece. But also, the next generation is Kirsten Martin. And Kirsten grabbed the baton and took it home, let me tell you. We want to thank our generous sponsors and donors, and most of you are here tonight. We appreciate what you've done. Just about everybody we approached stepped up and did that. We want to thank our speakers, Joel Ireland. By the way, Joel and I go back to high school together. He said he's known me a long time, but it's like over 50 years. So, also Michael, my new friend, and Joaquin, who had to go home because his relatives are visiting. And Cindy, of course, Cindy, your words were just moving for all of us, and have mapped out the direction to go for us, and we certainly appreciate that. And I appreciate your visit with Aaron and Amelia before this whole thing got started. And I want to thank my pal, Brian, for being the master of ceremonies. Brian's a Democrat, by the way. He didn't know that. We want to thank the Timons and the Firths, the owners of Hacienda del Sol, and their excellent staff for hosting us above and beyond our expectations. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris Bubany, for your iconic centerpieces. And we want to thank Huda and Bernard and their team back in Houston for their tireless work. And you'll see the actual people, these are people that are working on the biomarker every day, looking for it. That's Huda on the left, by the way, if you recognize her. And finally, Joel touched on this and Cindy touched on this, but we want to thank God for uniting us, and in some cases reuniting us in this effort, and making our strong bonds stronger, and giving us the knowledge and ability and means to meet this challenge. Everett can't say thank you yet, but soon, when he has his words, I can guarantee you he's going to thank every one of you personally. In the meantime, he said it with a smile. And before we hear the final numbers from Brian and Matt, because I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seat, Rusty and the Relito River Band have created a special song for us. And Rusty, can you tell us about the song?
So the story is that Randy called me one day and he said, would you write a song for the foundation? Now, Randy made this guitar, and Randy made that guitar, and he made the guitar that John will be playing shortly. So how do we turn him down when he asked us to, no more guitars if you don't write us a song? So we thought about the event tonight, and we thought about what John Daly taught us, that we all go through very difficult things in life, and we can't save each other from them generally, but we can be there for people who are going through that hard time. And so John's words are in this song, and I wrote the words and the chords, and then I got together with John McCaleb. John wrote the lead parts, and then Oscar wrote the melody line, and the three of us wrote the harmonies, and then Roger Worley, our drummer, put the icing on the cake with the drum line, and we hope you like the song. It's called Take Hold of My Hand, and if you'll get that out, when we get to near the end of the song, Oscar's going to ask you to sing with us. You'll get it, it's easy.
you start to heal, you'll feel less pain. That smile on your face will be there again. You'll never forget what you're going through. Some things you'll regret, but then you'll start new. Take hold of my hand when you lost your way. I'll help you to stand. Come with me today. I'll be on your side. I know you have fear. There's no need to hide. I know I am here. Hold my hand when you lost your way. I'll help you to stand. Come with me today. I know that the I know you have fear. There's no need to hide. You know I am here. Come on, everybody, get down on my hand. When you lost your way, I'll help you to stand. Come with me today. I'll be by your side. I know you have fear. There's no need to hide. You know I am here. Take hold of my hand when you lost your way. I know that you stand. Come with me today. I'll be by your side. I know you have fear. There's no need to hide. You know I am here. So long, everybody.
Matt! Matt, where are you? Stop! Matt! Matt!
This time I have a real calculator. Hold on.
Matt! Somebody close the door. I want to hear what it sounds. Randy, would you close the door? Slam that door. Close the door down. I don't want, I mean, if I'm going to get bad news, I want the door closed before. All right. Doors are closed. Give me the news, Matt.
I gotta tell you, I was blown away. That was quite the amount of donations that we just got. So thank you guys all a lot. We really do appreciate that. So I stood up here a couple minutes ago and I said, come match me. I'm giving $1,000. Multiple people here came and matched us over even the floor, way over above the floor. We didn't even finish calculating that. And as of right now, we had a goal of $250,000. We're at $257,000.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming this evening. And now, it's the Rialto River Band all night long, baby. That's it.